The silly season is over. The real stuff is so close you can reach out and touch it. And so begins the tale of two different journeys. A below-strength yet optimistic Fremantle flies to its happy hunting ground Geelong for the first game of what it hopes will be a maiden premiership season. The Cats are facing an AFL audit over third-party payments, and the Dockers will be aiming to give them an audit of their own on Saturday at the Cattery. Across town, Andrew McQualter, the 7th full-time coach in West Coast's 37-year history, dons the overalls to hammer up the framework on a foundation laid out of the worst period in the club's history. It's been a painful build with a number of casualties. A coach, CEO and high-profile players, and now a high-octane game plan sits at the quick feet of one of the youngest lists in the competition. AFL debut dreams have been delivered. Murphy Reid for the Dockers, a highly rated mid-forward from Sandringham Dragons' rich production line. And the Eagles are expected to unveil a 203-centimetre Reid of their own, Archer, when they face the Gold Coast Suns on Sunday at Optus Stadium. McQualter makes his debut as a full-time AFL coach with a matchup against Damien Hardwick, the man he served under during Richmond's premiership dynasty. Two ex-Tigers who made their names in that rich era, Liam Baker and Jack Graham, now wear the blue and gold as they become McQualter's eyes and ears out on the field. Mercifully, opening round is in the rearview mirror as round one rushes upon us like a Cosy Pickett rundown. Welcome to season 2025. And welcome to two familiar faces, the West Australians Mitchell Woodcock and Seven Sports Adrian Barich of Perth Football Club and West Coast Eagles fame. How are you, boys?
Yeah, very well. It's a bit rainy outside, but it was a lovely day at West Coast this morning.
We are brought to you by TABtouch. Got the touch? Download the TABtouch app today. What's gambling really costing you? Boys, breaking news. You've both been at the Eagles and Dockers this morning. Mitch, give me the Freo travelling party, hot off the press on the plane today.
Yep, so from Jackson Barrett from the West, and obviously Barrow was there as well. So the travelling squad is Alex Pearce, Luke Ryan, Jordan Clark, Brennan Cox, Heath Chapman, Corey Wagner, Brandon Walker, Caleb Sarong, Andrew Brayshaw, Matt Johnson, Nathan O'Driscoll, Jager O'Meara, Jeremy Sharp, Murphy Reid, Liam Reedy, Patrick Voss, Luke Jackson, Sam Switkowski, Michael Frederick, Josh Tracy, Jay Amos, Bailey Banfield, Carl Warner, Josh Draper. Don't ask me to do that again.
Okay, Barra, what's your take on that?
Well, obviously, we were all just waiting to see if Shai Bolton turned up. It's a nightmare at the airport at the moment in terms of parking.
You live there?
Yeah, well, it feels like it do. I tell you what, it was horrible. Jackson and I, we parked about 3 k's away, and so the players had to walk as well. So they had the walk of death into the cameras, and where's Shai? Where's Shai? No Michael Walters. 2 massive outs, of course, and they look like they've gone, Mitchie, this is what I thought, they look like they've gone pretty tall because they did take Reedy, but then also Patrick Voss was there. So I'd say surely one of those won't play.
So what's your gut feel? Do they ruck with Reedy or do they ruck with Jackson and Pat Voss plays?
Well, we've been arguing about this all week. You're still a bit of still a Reedy fan. I can't play him after what the Melbourne captain did to him. I just go, mate, he must be demoralised.
Max Gawn takes everyone apart.
I know, but geez, it just is from a confidence perspective, you'll be going, wow, I've been absolutely pantsed. And J-Lo, when we did the press conference, he gave him a clip as well, didn't he?
He did, but I'm of the opinion Max Gawn's got more All-Australians than Liam Reedy's played AFL games. So let's not get carried away. There have been a lot better ruckmen than Liam Reedy is probably going to be that have been pantsed by Max Gawn in the last, decade? So let's not get carried away with that, in my opinion. I've been staunch on this since last year, and they're not going to use Josh Tracy, by the way, as a backup ruck. If they go with Jackson, Voss. It will be Pat Voss who will back him up. That's what we could see at training yesterday. Voss was in that sort of combination. Those two were swapping in and out. I think that's the way they're going to go. I don't like it. Even when it was Tracy and Jackson when Darcy was out, I like the 2 ruck situation. I think if you're backing it when you've got Darcy and Jackson, you've got to back it when you've got a ready-made ruckman and Reedy, because I just think it is too confusing and it just doesn't make sense to me.
My mail on Bolton is that he's no certainty to play round 2 as well. So it's not a long-term injury, but may miss the first couple.
I'll give you a bit more here as well. I have been told, it might have happened at the airport today when I was chatting to people, it may not have, that Shai, he got schooled by the players.
Okay.
They pulled him in, the leadership group, and they said, mate, we're not sure that your training standards are kind of where ours are at. I mean, they may not have been as direct, but they basically asked him to lift his rating. And if I was Shai Bolton, how many flags you got? 3 or 2?
2.
I would be going, hang on, show us your premierships. I think I know what I'm doing. I think I know what my body is. Okay, I'm not doing the work that you guys are doing. And has this injury been caused by him doing the extra work? That's the other question I've got to ask. But he's be well within his rights of going, hey, Caleb, if you kick that goal against Port Adelaide, we win. You know, Zach Merritt, who was on Zach Merritt in that Essendon game? Don't go chipping me yet. Just wait and see how I perform. So I reckon they might have jumped the gun a bit there. I reckon they're getting a bit ahead of themselves. If they're schooling a 2-time premiership player, I don't know if that's. I mean, you guys probably might have a different view. You think that's probably a good thing.
I don't think if it's true, I don't mind it because it means they're driving really high standards, and as long as it's done in the right manner.
If it's true, I will say that Fremantle's standards over the last few years in terms of training have been incredibly high. Like, you see them before pre-season. They're back 2 weeks before pre-season training together.
Caleb said they had the biggest pre-season he's ever done.
Yeah, so if
that
that's
may not have been as direct as all this. You know, I don't want you to paint it into a story where they went after him. I'm just saying they might have just gone, look, mate, can you just start training a bit more?
You've dropped the bombshell.
But he's broken down. That's the bit.
Yeah, look, and it's going to hurt them, especially.
It's a stressy.
Especially without... it's a stress-related injury. I think it might be more of a hotspot from what they're saying. And look, without him and Walters, it means they're going to probably have to play Banfield. I reckon he probably would have preferred to have been the sub. But they have gone very tall.
Guess who Banfield's going to play on? Tom Stewart, right?
Well, if Stewart doesn't go in the midfield.
Yeah, if Stewart...
Defensive forward,
whoever their best defender is in terms of rebound, that's it. Banfield's job is to shut him down. And I don't mind that, but when I see Banfield and I think it could have been Shai Bolton or someone else, I'm thinking, phew.
Righto, boys. Okay, so we're going to preview the game soon. We'll get on to that. Mitch, Eagles. Waterman, some doubts, and talk to us about Andrew McQualter's press conference.
Yeah, so Jake Waterman was a noticeable absentee on the track this morning, Barra, wasn't he? He didn't rock up. We were told later on he had some calf tightness, reported it this morning. So not a great sign leading into round 1 for a guy who I know has battled not a full plantar fasciitis injury, but a bit of soreness in that area from what I've been told from sources. So a little bit concerning about him. There were questions asked about Liam Baker's fitness in the press conference. That was quickly squashed. And even now I can see other agencies reporting that he's got a bit of a hamstring soreness. So that'll be interesting to see which way West Coast go.
He didn't look like it this morning, I've got to say. And neither did Liam Ryan, by the way. He hit top gear, didn't he?
Well, he sprinted all the way through. We got kicked out after 20 minutes, which is understandable. It's an early season. The West Coast want a bit of privacy to get through their team, so we only had 20-minute access. And
it's a long way to Sunday. That's the only thing I'd say about Waterman. But they're going to milk it too, so we won't have a clue until they actually announce the team on Sunday, eh? Because they'll probably name him tonight, won't they?
I think it's a squad, so I think they'll name him at best.
Hewitt, name Hewitt as well.
Yeah, Hewitt. The interesting comments, wasn't it, from McQualter this morning? I asked him about, not Hewitt's fitness, but I wanted to know, after about 18 months of not playing proper AFL football, are they going to try and manage him? And I've been long on this, and I know we spoke about in this pod, that I think he should be the sub. And Andrew said we're picking players based on them being fit and ready to go. We're not carrying anybody in this. So that's interesting to me. I don't think if Hewitt's ready to go, they'll play him. I think they'll end up playing him regardless. I think he does play. But I'm curious to see how he's going to go, because I still am a staunch believer. I reckon he needs to be slowly returned, given that the seriousness of that foot injury. He's still young. I thought there was an overreaction last week to a bit of quad soreness. I think sub's the best option for him.
He wasn't going for it with you. I tell you one thing, Quarters, you might have to help us out here, mate, because we might have to all gang up. Him doing the presser on a Thursday, McWalter, so Mini, is pointless. It's pointless. 4 teams. Because you know what he says? We're about to train, so we'll find out how fit they are.
Yeah.
And then we've got selection. So we get nowheresville. You've got to try to couch your questions in case, say, Tyrell Dewar plays. He gave us something around him.
I hope so.
If he's in. But then he gave him
some hangs.
A bit of a bump up. But,
the trick
it is pointless, isn't it, Mitchie? It's on a Thursday. We need him to move to Friday, please.
Well, we're expecting Archer Reid to debut, really. So we've said this for a long time. He was the backup ruck in the North Melbourne pre-season game to Matt Flynn. So to get around that, obviously, I said, is there any debutants beside yourself, Andrew? He laughed and said, we haven't done team selection, as you said. So then to get around that, to make sure we've got a quote for later in the week in the paper, I just say to him, what's impressed you about archery? There's ways around it.
I know,
but
but
I
it's
will agree with you. It's not fun.
pointless.
But the problem is with
So
the
you're
Sunday.
saying Archer Reid's playing there?
I'm not saying he will. I'm saying I'm expecting
So
him
Bailey
to be
Williams
named.
is out?
I'm expecting Bailey not to play. I think Matt Flynn against Jared Witts. We can talk about this in the game preview. I think that's the
I can
better
see
option.
from game structure. I'm just putting it on the record. It's harsh on Bailey, who has been a wonderful servant for that club over the last couple of years. But it's a sign of the club getting a bit more depth as well.
But he also got belted by Witts last time, didn't he?
Twice last year. So Witts had his two best
They probably
games
watched the tape and gone,
against
whoa.
him.
Well, you do have to have your wits about you when you play the Suns.
But also, we
Boom,
can't
boom.
ask for everybody at West Coast to be on an even slate and then say, well, it's a bit harsh on Bailey Williams. It is harsh on Bailey Williams, given the history, but McQualter's come in, everyone's back at the same level, and he's then picking his side from that. So that's the reality of it.
Barra, let me ask you a question. Do you think it will be playing on Minnie's mind at all, the matchup against the old mentor, Damien Hardwick?
Well, that was another question. I think Mitchie might have asked that one. That was a good question, and we delved into it. But he's on. There's no pressure on him. The pressure's all on Dimmer now, isn't it? He's got to play finals this year. I thought it was interesting that he conducted himself very well. I think he's going to go a long way, Mick Walter. I know Cuzzy's going to be interviewing him for the 7 coverage as well, and I think Cuzzy lived with him, so there'll be a big hug going on there. So there's a lot of crossovers. I found it interesting too about Bo Allen. He said Bo's not playing, and he's lost a heap of weight. But when we looked at Bo Allen, he looked fine training, didn't he? Did you find that a bit weird?
Yeah, but I understand why they're not playing him. He's coming off what's going to be illness he lost weight, so that's fatigue.
Yeah.
He's setting the bar
4
lower.
quarters.
I get that.
It's hard.
Well, you know
big
what
ask.
I found
Yeah, but
interesting
with
in that
Elijah,
presser-
he wasn't worried about that, was he?
No, but Elijah's not coming back from that illness so quickly. What I found interesting about Allen, and it was only after I listened to the presser a second time, he said Bo isn't playing AFL this weekend. Now, West Coast have a waffle pre-season game up against West
Yeah, but he
Perth.
might be quarter or a half.
I reckon we'll
managed.
see Allen in the waffle game this
Just
weekend.
playing a half or a quarter. Yeah.
I think we'll see that. By the way, and I don't know this for certain yet, but obviously Nat Fyfe didn't travel. I expect Nat Fyfe to take on your mob at Mineral Resources Park. So get down there, get behind the bar and have a bit of fun.
I've got the list of the journalists who are going from the West. Oh, you're on here, Mitchie.
Yeah.
I'll
be there. I'll be
so
there.
he must be playing, is he?
I'll be
Because
stealing Dotty's coffee.
spread the word. Spread the
now,
word. We'll get an extra 600
quick lines on this one. We'll go through these very quickly and we'll get on to some games. We'll 9 games to preview. It's exciting.
God, it's back.
This opening round crap is over with.
It's back.
Mate,
So-
hey, can I just say, he was so pumped in the Eagles press conference today. Mate, he was like a cat on a hot tin roof.
That's
jumping
him every day,
around.
Barra.
Mate, no, it was extras.
I
Energizer
was
Bunny.
like that yesterday. I honestly felt like it was footy was back yesterday. That's what it felt like to me.
So, Craig McRae, overreaction or fair enough to a copper warning from the AFL?
Mate, Kane Corns wanted him to get a $40,000 fine.
Okay.
I said,
So
please.
you think it's an overreaction?
Mate, it was hardly anything in it.
Okay, Mitch?
I'm okay with it being a warning, but in that case, you got to give Ken Hinkley his 20 grand back.
Nah, I hate coaches having a go at opposition players. I think it's a terrible look. I think it's a terrible look for, I can tell you now, at community games across Australia, it's hostile out there and it franks your behaviour. So I think it should be definitely a warning, and I'll go even further. I reckon you get 2 strikes at that and you're up in the box. You're not allowed, like a suspension, you have to serve it in the box.
Great point with the community stuff, but I will also say overrated is coaching from the sidelines. Get up the box.
Yeah.
Premierships have been
Doesn't
won up
matter
the
who
box.
you are, though. If it's Clarkson and that, it's a bit
No,
different.
well, Clarkson's
it's like
he's
you
a
wanna
recidivist.
You want to shoot Bambi or Bambi's mum
Chris
or whoever got shot in that movie.
recidivist.
Hey?
Ken Hinkley, recidivist.
Mate, is whacking Bambi. Why would you
No,
whack Bambi?
I don't
He's the
mind if it's
world's nicest
I don't
bloke.
even mind if it's coach v coach.
And
but coach v opposition player is cowardly because you're not out
Kingsley
there.
came
You
to
are not
him.
out
How
there.
big's Kingsley, by the way? How many weights is he doing?
Oh yeah.
No, I don't want to arm wrestle Adam Kingsley.
Mate,
If I'm
Tell you what,
nah.
Craig McRae got back in his seat very quickly when he said, "Hey mate, sit down."
Well,
Yeah, I
who
would've
who
too.
wouldn't?
Sit down. Now, very quickly, so big standoff between the AFL and the AFLPA over the, there's 2 issues. There's the drugs policy and there's also the 51 players' names that were allegedly leaked to Sports and Integrity Australia by the AFL. There's suggestions that it was target testing certain players. The AFL is saying it's using its own information. It's not necessarily...
This is getting frosty.
It is getting frosty. There's also the issue of a change to the illicit drugs policy, which currently is a 3-strike system. First strike is a suspended $5,000 fine and counselling. Second is 4 matches and it's made public. And third is the 12 weeks. So the AFL proposal is to make it a $5,000 fine for your first strike and also more recognition in the public arena of it. Basically, they're trying to make it more difficult to hide behind the illicit drug code, and the AFLPA uses it as a counselling service, which I tend to agree with. Very quick, your thoughts, Mitch?
Yeah, I think the drug code's too weak.
Okay.
I think it I think it allows too much leeway for players and a little bit too much protection. I get that this is a huge problem in society, but I can tell you right now that if they did that in our workplace and we were drug tested and one of us got done, we'd be marched out of the building.
Barra?
Mate, who was it? Who had a massive crack about it this week?
Nathan Buckley.
Mate, Bucks. I'm with Bucks. Mate, that was the best piece of instruction to the AFL that I've just about ever seen in this area. Having some experience in this area, just having been at West Coast, I believe that Bucks is on the right track.
And can I just make a point that no one's considered? Fair play to good on Nathan Buckley for his public stance on it. Is he in the running for the Tassie job?
Yes.
Because I tell you, you take on the AFL, they got long memories.
Yeah.
So well done, Bucks.
Simo will be coaching Tassie.
No, I reckon.
Mate, Simo, have you seen Simo? He's so keen to get back.
Yeah, okay.
I reckon he's looking at Melbourne too.
Okay, boys.
If Goodwin...
A question. Harley Reid, so a lot of conjecture over where he's going to end up, okay? Forget all of that. There's been some commentary on the spotlight's too big in WA. But is it going to be just the same? I know you are diluted a bit because there's 10 clubs in Victoria, but he's a superstar in Victoria as well.
This is the most ridiculous argument in the AFL right now, that the WA spotlight... And look, hand up to our West.
You guys have to declare yourself first.
Yeah, no, we've put him on the back page more than anybody. Quarters and myself, we don't control that. But I've written more
distancing himself.
But I'll hand up. I've written more Harley Reid stories than anybody in the country. But you know what? It is not a 2-team town that is going to put the attention on Harley. Look at Jamari Ugle-Hagan right now. He is all over the papers and all over the press in Melbourne. And this is not.
But he's been, going out wide. I mean,
but I'm just saying
allegedly.
to you, the attention doesn't just stop because this is a 2-team town and they've got 10 teams over there. Second of all, and just quickly, Harley, and I don't begrudge him for this. This is amazing. Harley's got a lot of sponsorship opportunities and he's putting himself out there. So and I'm not saying Harley. This is not a crack at Harley because I don't think Harley actually thinks this, or I don't know if he thinks that too much attention in the 2-team town. But I don't think that you can point to that and then not point to the fact that he's got all these endorsements for all these different things, the NBL, the farmers markets, all that sort of stuff, and then say, but there's too much pressure on a 2-team town. That's a joke.
Hey, not trying to change the subject about Harley, but going on a slightly different tangent. Somebody told me that when he came back this year, just give me your reaction, he was 100 kilos.
Too many days at the races?
I'm not saying anything like that. I'm just saying he was 100 kilos. And he's not Cripps, right? Cripps is 6'4", massive man. He's probably what, 189? Is he 189? Something like that. He's nowhere near those real big midfielders. I couldn't believe when I heard he was 100 kilos. But he has got that big, broad bum.
Well, you know what, Barry?
And he's a big bastard. But no, he's probably down to 95 now. But still, that's a hefty weight.
If that's true, you've got to come back better than that.
Because I was thinking, because you know how it came up? Because Rao is, when him and Rao clash on Sunday, which I can't wait, because I'll butt heads. Rao's a midget compared to Harley. So it's going to be fascinating to see who wins the battle there in terms of the strength.
My response is there's no better place to answer it than out on the AFL field.
Yeah, and he will. And how good does he look at training? And he's a leader.
Looked great. And McQualter said today, basically shut down any prospect of him not being ready for this game. Said he's ready to go. And I think we're going to see the best of Harley.
We're about to find out.
He is a budding superstar.
Budding?
There's no question.
He's
budding.
it.
Budding?
He's not there yet, but he's Juddish, isn't he?
McFly?
Mate. No, he's not Judd at the moment, is he?
Judd's
won 2 Brownlows.
No, he's
not
Judd.
The player of the finals, Norm Smith medalist.
Hang on, boys. Final word, a quick one.
I can see why the headlines have been being made.
No, you've already dropped the headline for tomorrow, mate. Don't worry about Shai Bolton. That's a great story.
I just want to clarify that.
That's a great story.
I'm not saying that they actually... It's just there was some feedback to him that perhaps
You're not saying, but you are.
that he maybe needed to lift his training a little bit.
Do we need a disclaimer? The thoughts of Adrian Barich do not reflect those
We're all
of
in this
Glen
together,
Quartermain.
Mitch. We're all in this together. Quick answer, opening round, yes or no? Mitch?
No.
Barrett?
No, not after that. I mean, the worst sequel of all time since bloody Godfather 3. It was.
Okay, well, my view is well known. By all means, open in the northern states and roll round one in after it in the same weekend. So that's all there is to say. When you're on the go, you can save big bucks at Thirsty Camel bottle shops. You can shop the way you want online and in-store. There's convenience and great value every day, boys. Head to the website or download the Thirsty Camel app today. Now let's catch up on the latest TABtouch prices.
Shorty's tips.
We're joined by Tim Walker from TABtouch. G'day, Tim. How are you?
Hello to you, Glenn. Great to be on the podcast again.
Excited. We've got 9 games of footy.
It's going to be a ripping weekend, isn't it? Footy back in Melbourne and Perth. The footy states get their fix of footy this weekend.
Yeah, thank goodness for that, by the way. Hawks, my Hawks, up and about last week. Who's your heater for the week?
Well, one man that was outstanding last week, Will Day, he
was.
really announced himself in season 2025 against the Swans. It was a dominant display through the middle of the ground. He's now a $13 chance to win the Brownlow medal. So the punters are thinking that he'll be starting off with 3 votes last week.
What's he come in from?
He was out well north of that. He was out in $31, $41 in and around that territory before the season got underway. So he's got 3 votes, you'd think, next to his name
I
already.
mind getting on Finn Callahan either, just on last week's performance.
He was terrific.
Who's your cooler?
So Collingwood. So the Pies were single figures to win the flag going into that game against GWS last week, but obviously the 52-point belting that they received has seen them drift to $11, but some punters thinking maybe we just wait another week and see how they go against Port Adelaide before jumping off completely the Collingwood bandwagon for season 2025.
Average age of 28. Tim can't have him, but I reckon they win this week. And your hot punt for the week?
Yeah, going to take 4 sides just to win this week. Hawthorn, Geelong, Collingwood and Adelaide. That's $3.96. I think that's a way to play this weekend. Acknowledging, though, that some of those games, there is potential for an upset. We can see it in round 1, can't we, with some teams up and about.
Yeah, and going in, how often do they lose the next week after big wins in round 1? And who's your drifter?
Yeah, so it's Fremantle. So they were around the $2.50 mark for this game against Geelong and even shorter than that, given we have been betting on these round 1 markets for some time. But they're out at $2.70 now. They're no stranger to success down there in Geelong. They've got a good record.
Won their last 2.
Yeah, exactly right. And one of those was the Cats premiership year, of course. So they're out at $2.70. Few key personnel missing from the side. Punters thinking it might just make this week's trip that little bit difficult.
And who would be your player to watch this week?
Oh, Isaac Rankin. I think a lot of people enjoy watching Isaac Rankin go about his business. If the Crows are going to play finals, he's going to have to really have a big year. And I think he can start off by scoring at least 2 goals this week. That's $2.20. The Crows should be looking after the Saints at the Adelaide Oval.
Great to talk to you, Tim.
Have a great week, Quarters.
I am excited. We have 9 games to preview, starting with in just hours from now. Thursday night, tonight, 4:30 p.m, Western Standard Time, Richmond. Rank outsiders at $10.50. Carlton, $1.05. Players to watch for Carlton. Sam Walsh off a hamstring. Silvani, first game for forever, late 2003. Lucas Camporeale debut. And for Richmond, 3 debutants. Layla, Harry Armstrong, Luke Traynor, Sam Laidlaw, obviously the number 1 draft pick. Tom Lynch is back in that team. They have had a lot of outs. They've got 5 ACLs, long injury list, Richmond. Carlton also, no Curnow, no Durden, no Fantasia. Pitney's out. Newman's out for the year. Elijah Hollands, we know, has stepped away for personal reasons. And, of course, really sadly, Jagger Smith, the great draft prospect, won't play this year with an ACL. Boys, I don't think it takes a Rhodes Scholar to pick Carlton to win this game. I'm saying about 35 points.
The only way you got to do it is just tip at thegame.com.au and then you tip Carlton straight away.
Yep.
This is going to be one of those games where it's going to prove my theory or what I want to happen, which is the grand final rematch should start the season. Don't get me wrong, this game used to be quite good. Tonight it's going to be a massacre, and you can.
Well, Carlton owe them a few couple.
You're gonna love watching.
Carlton owe them a few.
Carlton never used to win.
No,
that's the amazing. And what are they? $11. $11 to win the Tigers.
$10.50.
Hey, they look a horse won at $200
In a two-horse race.
A horse won at $200 yesterday at Ascot. So
That's Eagles. That's Eagle-esque in recent years.
Hang on, mate.
Eagles were $12-13, mate.
Jeepers,
They were $12-13.
We'll get complaints.
You can tell who's coming up next, can't you, now that he's talking about this?
No, I'm not so bullish on Friday night. Friday night, MCG, 4:40 p.m. Anticipated bigger crowd than Thursday night, Carlton-Richmond. Clash of the old rivals. Hawthorn $1.29, Essendon $3.50. Essendon having won 6 of their last 7 games, of course, before Hawthorn hit that bubble. Injuries to Nick Cox, David Jr., Guelphy, Laverde, Parrish, Peter Wright. For Hawthorn, big out for James Worpel, who was really good in the first half against Sydney last week, has been their best performer over the pre-season. He's out for 3 to 4 with a syndesmosis. Still waiting on Deere, Lewis, Butler and James Blank to come back into that side. Bit of a light. Josh Ward, I expect to come back into that side. And Cam McKenzie also played a bit of a role in the second half in the middle, so he can play that role that Worpel played. I think Hawthorn win this game, but I am cautionary because of the history of big wins in round 1 being followed up in round 2 with surprise losses. So I think there is a silly chance Essendon here. A lot of talk around Kako, really looking forward to see what he can give. They haven't really had a...
Are you knocking the Bombers?
I'm glad to see them have an exciting small forward again. It's
Yeah.
gonna be,
A lot of people...
since Tip and Woody really was their last good one.
I've been surprised how many people are saying that the Bombers could be bottom 4. Are you
I
off them?
think they're bottom 4.
You know, their list is horrible.
Really?
Their list is shocking. They're rebuilding
I
this
didn't think
list.
they were that bad.
They're rebuilding this list. Brad Scott's re-signing was a smart move because they need stability. But to be honest with you, their list is terrible. Their young kids coming through are good, but Zach Merritt's the only A grader. They got no key forward. Caddy's going to be a star one day. Kako, all those guys. They brought in Mackay to help, but this team's not going to be great. This team's not going to play finals. And if Hawthorn are as serious as they think they are, and everyone says they are, then they need to win.
Well, yeah, and how good are they? And Quarters, I'll ask you, are you betting on Will Day for the Brownlow?
I haven't yet, but I might. He was fantastic.
He's got 3 votes already.
Yeah, I think he has. Yeah, I think he has.
He has?
A question without notice, guys. Who is going to finish with a better career in the ruck, Sean Darcy or Lloyd Meek?
Well, let's see what Sean Darcy... This is a big year for him. He needs to return this year with form and fitness. But Lloyd Meek has been a terrific get for him.
I was at West Coast today and I was talking to him. I was going, boys, Lloyd Meek? What happened, Lloyd Meek? Yeah, we spoke to him. Yeah, why didn't you get him? Imagine if they had Lloyd Meek. It would have solved half of their problems. They haven't had a ruckman
terrific
since
performance last week against Brodie Grundy. Terrific performance. And the thing is about Hawthorn, I thought Sydney were okay last week, by the way.
No respect.
We'll get to that game in a minute. But the thing about Hawthorn is they got it done. Beautiful delivery from the half-back line to Scrimshaw and Amon and those types. Small forwards didn't really contribute, apart from Dylan Moore. So there's still a bit of upside.
The Wizard got shut down.
He did by Sam Wicks. So Essendon will be all over that. And it's the small forwards do hold a key. I wonder what Jack Ginnivan, what book he's reading this week. Will it be AJ Brown or would it be something lower brow? Do you reckon he had the cover on that book? Do you reckon that was all for show?
Well, you reckon like a Where's Wally book in the middle or something?
Maybe.
Why was he doing that? Because I noticed he had bits marked as well. Did you see that? Sort of colour-coded?
I do
so
that.
He's obviously taking it seriously.
I do that.
Yeah, I know, because you read it properly. So he's obviously wanting to go back. I reckon maybe he's trying... Because you know who used to do that a lot is Maney.
Yep.
You know those self-help books and to improve yourself and Anthony Robbins.
You're more of a Phantom comic man, were you?
Yeah. There's no way I could read those. It just drive you mad. But he was right into it and it was working for him. So maybe Ginnivan or or whatever's on.
Who are we picking? Hawthorn?
Oh, Hawthorn, 100%.
Oh, absolutely.
Saturday, 11:20 a.m. the Alphabet Stadium. Big game for the Dockers. Won their last two they've won their last two there. Geelong $1.46, Fremantle $2.70. We've just read out the travelling party for the Fremantle Dockers. Look, I'm going to pick Geelong here. I'm intrigued by what's going to happen in the ruck with Fremantle. Certainly they're capable, but Geelong just got the edge at the moment. What do you think?
Yeah, a week ago I would have told you Fremantle. This week, I'm a little bit more uncertain about where their best 23 sits heading into this game. The ruck really worries me, and the loss of Bolton and Walters, I think, hurts them. You were talking before about stopping Tom Stewart. I think the best way to stop a dominant defender is to have someone really keep him accountable and make him, have to defend, which I think a Bolton could have done, kicked a couple of goals on him and really put him under pressure. So I've got to go Geelong down there for that reason, and I think it's going to be an interesting
What about
matchup.
the other end? Who goes to Jeremy Cameron? Is it Luke Ryan, who did the job pretty well last time? Is it a Heath Chapman, or is it a Brendan
They've got
Cox?
a cast of thousands. They've got Draper, Pearce, Cox and Ryan.
So it's Pearce, though. He plays deeper. He's going to, obviously, we know Jeremy Cameron runs you up and back and forth. So you need someone.
Mate, it's a battle of the defences, and that's what makes Fremantle a big chance because they've got a great defence. Those four bigs,
got a great offence too. Fremantle, really good offence. I mean, you've got Shannon Neal now. So this is the post Tom Hawkins era for Geelong. Shannon Neal fills that spot. Obviously, Jeremy Cameron, superstar. Ollie Henry's a great player. Who gets Ollie Henry? So there are some issues for the Fremantle defence, but I think if you flip it, Josh Tracy, we know how much we love him, and Jai Amos, etc. So it's an intriguing battle.
Yeah, I'm of the opinion that Cox will probably go to Cameron to start with. You'll see Pearce on Neal, and then I think Luke Ryan will float around in that defensive 50 and just be that third tall up. And if they need to make the swap, then a Chapman or a Ryan who have done the job before can go there. Incredible how...
They are giggling down there.
Incredible. That's a carton. Incredible how the record that Fremantle have against Cameron since he crossed to Geelong, only 2 goals in 4 games. It hasn't won a one-on-one.
Yeah, I've read that today in the West. That was a great story.
It's an incredible stat.
They've got a brilliant backline, and I tell you what was interesting at training listening to, because have you seen how loud JT is, Josh Tracy?
Yeah, no, he's been
the loudest centre-half forward in the game.
That's why he's in the leadership group.
And what name was I hearing? Bruce. So you know who Bruce is?
Murphy Reid.
Murphy Reid, yeah. That is so
congratulations
that is
to
so
Murphy
going to
Reid.
stick now, isn't it?
Pick 17 in the draft last year. I spoke to his Sandringham Dragons coach, who there'll be a story in the West Australian tomorrow, Mitch and Barra. Rates him Pendlebury-like with his awareness and vision. Says a steal at 17, although he does say it will be known, the 2024 draft's going to be known as a super draft. So he said it's no... offence to be outside that top 10, but he said he's definitely a top 10 pick. So well done to Murphy Reid. Capabilities, I think he's going to be genuinely elite midfielder, but you'll see at the start of his career a bit more forward half.
Yeah, and I've got the opinion that the ceiling is that high, and I'm not saying this will definitely happen, but the ceiling is that high that in 4 to 5 years' time, he has the capability, when the Sorongs and the Brayshaws and the Youngs are still there, of being the Dockers' best player.
Okay, so I'm Cats, Mitch.
Get Cats.
Barra?
I'll just... preface my tip by saying we asked J-Lo about the
he doesn't like J-Lo.
Sorry, JL. You're right, actually, he doesn't like J-Lo. And I would understand that. We asked JL, was it you or me? I can't remember. One of us said, but surely the Geelong ruck's not as good as, who he took on in Melbourne, Maxi Gawn. And he goes, oh, no, De Koning. I was thinking, he's thinking about the wrong De Koning, is he? I mean,
Sam can go in.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying that guy's not as good as bloody Max anywhere near anywhere.
Well, no one really is.
Who else did he mention? Stanley and the third.
Yeah, Toby Conway's not playing, obviously, and then Blitzards will probably get a run in there.
So if they go with Blitzards and De Koning, I mean, surely, but anyway.
So it's it's athleticism, right? So that's
you'd rather Jacko, wouldn't you?
Which is that's
yeah, but I'm going to argue that if you got Liam Reedy in there, you give him a confidence boost ahead of a big 3 weeks, because I know that you're going to ruck Jackson solely against Brodie Grundy and even a Matt Flynn. But that's just
I like Luke Jackson as a forward second ruck. I don't like him as a first ruck. You know my stance on it. I think you play Liam Reedy, but I'm not at the selection table. Saturday, 1:15 p.m, SCG, Sydney, $2.08 against the grand final rematch, Brisbane Lions at $1.75. Lions have been affected a bit by, obviously, Cyclone Alfred. The game was postponed last week, but had to head to Sydney early because they couldn't train. So their training venue was basically waterlogged. So they've headed down early. I'm a bit more bullish about Sydney than has been the conversation this week. Everyone's written them off. I thought they were right in it at three-quarter time and early in the last quarter against Hawthorn. I think they did a lot right. Hawthorn played very well. So I'm still big on Sydney, and I think...
Well, they're your tip, aren't they?
No, GWS is my tip to win the flag, but I think Sydney is my tip to play off in the GF. They've got some issues at either end, but I think Sydney wins this game. As much about bouncing back from last week, as much about and it's at the SCG.
What did you think about Coxey's performance?
I thought it was okay.
I was amazed. Well, he thought it was no good. and he got on there and castigated himself. I thought he was very harsh on himself.
So
and he did make some big blues. There's no question.
Look, yeah, but he also made some great moves. I think Wicks to Watson was a fantastic move. I think Haywood onto Sicily when he was starting to dominate in defence was a good move. Made him accountable, and then Sicily moved forward. I thought he did
You reckon he was too hard on himself?
I think so, yes. I think, look, they have got a bit of an injury list. The really interesting thing for Sydney, before we talk about Brisbane, is Tom McCartan to the forward line.
That was these big blues.
I don't agree. I think
he needed to move him.
Yeah, but you need someone.
And they got belted.
There is talk that when Logan McDonald comes back, I think it's about 3 or 4 weeks away, he goes back. And McCartan stays forward. So I don't mind that. Just get Logan
You reckon
back.
Logan goes back?
Well, it won't do him any harm just to get a bit of confidence.
He's never played back. That's interesting.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
But that's what they're talking about.
Wow.
That's the
It's from my club.
So McLean is also in the wings, also Peter Latham. So they do need a bit more oomph in the forward line, that's for sure, in terms of key position power. Brisbane. So what are they going to do with their forward line? This is the post-Joe Danaher era. So what are we going to see, Mitch?
Debut. Hipwood will play, obviously, up there, the premiership player. Interestingly and unsurprisingly, Levi Ashcroft is going to debut.
Oh, yeah.
The reports out of the East. Sounds like he's going to be the sub.
Teammate of Murphy Reid at Sandringham Dragons, of course.
The great little factory there. Logan Morris played in the premiership last year again, but he's only his second year. They're going to be an interesting forward line. I think the SCG will actually suit them.
Sam Day, Ty Gallup, Darcy Ford are also options up forward for them.
Yeah, it will suit him, you know why? Because Danaher's not there and they don't actually need him.
But they're going to be small. They're going to have Archie, Cameron. I think they're actually going to be pretty quick down that ground level. So I think as long as Day and Hipwood create a contest and don't let the Sydney backs, which they don't really have any, we just discussed that McCartan's gone forward, they don't have any really tall key defenders. I think it could rebound it's not going to rebound as quick out there, and I don't think once it hits the ground, Sydney are going to have that advantage. So I'm tipping the Lions in this one. Also, just quickly, again, back on the grand final rematch, hate the fact that this game's at the SCG when it should be at the Gabba. Brisbane won the game. Why is this at the SCG?
Two weeks in a row for Sydney, too.
But I just don't get it. This, Brisbane should be unveiling the flag.
Who's your tip, Barich?
Yeah, I'm tipping the Lions as well. Starcevic isn't playing, is he? So,
is that concussion?
16 days. He's under the concussion protocol. So
I'd heard about him because I won't say who said, but West Australians.
There's another big story about the drop.
You bump into someone.
Watch Channel 7 tonight.
Apparently, he said that he wants to play midfield.
Yeah, that's long been touted. It's long been touted.
And I heard it from the
bit of depth there.
Anyway, so that's part of his pitch to Fremantle and West Coast.
Yeah.
And you know what? West Coast will go, no worries, mate, come on over. Let's jump in here. We're so skinny. Yeah, so he might be back at West Coast.
Wish I was skinny.
You're the Lions.
You're the Lions. Okay, Saturday, 4:35pm, MCG. Will the real Collingwood stand up? $1.57. Port Adelaide, $2.40. Injuries to Port. Butters is out. Marshall's out. Radaglia is a test. Zerk Thatcher's out for a bit of a stint. Collingwood, Josh Dacos is a test. The Goey's still out for a week. Hoskin Elliott for a couple. Howe is a test with a knee. Markov's a few weeks away. And Tom Mitchell is a TBC with a foot. I think Collingwood win this. I know they were terrible last week. They looked old. They looked slow. For God's sake, move Pendlebury to half back. I mean, he does not deserve to be in a midfield at the moment. I hope what we saw last week is not going to be what we're going to see.
Hey, did you see what their average age was?
Yeah, 28 plus.
28 and 82 days. Have you ever heard of a team being 28? Apparently, it's the oldest team ever in round one.
I'm worried about the squad.
So why would you have Pendlebury? Can he keep playing? Can Steely keep playing?
Oh, yeah, he keeps playing at half back. He's just too good.
Mate, he looked out of it.
Yeah, but you get him out of that midfield.
And did you see the coach talk about Nick Dacos and say that he blew up his GPS?
Yep.
Trying to bust the tag. He absolutely blew it up. So where do you sit on Nick Dacos?
I'm okay with Nick Dacos.
That's an early
in the
third,
call on
but
him.
in a third quarter to get a cramp
He'll learn from that. I think he'll learn from that. Look, no Butters, no Port Adelaide for me. They can't win this without him.
They're lucky they got Rosie. That was ridiculous, that Horn Francis tackle on him.
You don't chase down tackle in that intra-club.
What are you doing?
Like that. No.
You couldn't tip the pies, surely.
No, I'm tipping him, mate. I'm tipping him in the G. I'm tipping him to bounce back.
Did you watch that game?
I did, and I'm
diabolical.
Tell me who's going to
kick Port Adelaide's goals. They've got no forward line, mate.
Well, who's kicking Port Adelaide's goals?
Their forward line's better than bloody Collingwood's. They've got no young talent coming through.
They've got no Todd Marshall. Georgiades is an unknown factor. I'm tipping Collingwood out of this at the G.
Tier
So
one.
you're going Port then, I'm guessing?
Tier one
taking
player, Darcy Cameron was very good last week. He is going to take a big step this year. He'll become one of the elite ruckmen of the competition.
Yeah, you know where he's going to
He can
step
also
to,
go
don't
for Eagles. Who are you tipping, mate?
I'm done with Port. After that game, I couldn't.
I've got to watch Channel 7
I reckon
tonight.
we get all way too excited about the first bit of action for
Yeah,
the
I'm
year
not- I'm
every
not
year.
Mate,
Right,
they
I'm
look
calling
like
off.
Dad's Army. Were you watching?
I
I
wish
did.
I
I
was
saw it on the
28.
front bar last night. That was very funny.
Did they do it? Did
They
they?
had the elderly people doing training around Goss's paddock. It was very funny, and a number 10 going round on a toot toot. It was very
Fire
funny.
him up now.
Saturday, also 4:35 p.m. Marvel Stadium. Western Bulldogs $1.33. North $3.30. I reckon they're a bit long. North.
Can I hold on, Barrett?
Yeah.
Can you just hold on to your seat for me, please?
Yeah.
Quarters, who are you tipping?
I am tipping the Kangaroos. You talk about the Collingwood having an awful week. Well, the Western
Fell off my
Bulldogs
chair.
have had an awful summer. You've got Jamara Ugle-Hagan. We know about his off-field issues. Pressure on the coach, Luke Beveridge. I'll give you the outs.
Bont's out.
Bontempelli. Bailey Dale's a test. Liam Jones, Johannesson. Ed Richards is a test. Treloar's out. Waitman's out. West is a test. Vandermeer's a test. North's got a very slim injury. And I know there's still
What
a young
have you seen
group.
in North, mate, that made you want to tip them?
They've got about 80 first-round draft picks. They've got a heap of midfield talent. What I like about North, you might laugh at this, I like their forward line now.
But Larky's in doubt.
Okay, but Zerha and Jack Darling. I'm really bullish on North this week. I'm telling you, I'm picking them.
No, it's the Bulldogs for me. They can't lose this. North Melbourne are still
can lose
developing. I don't think they should.
So
if they want to play finals, they can't lose this game.
So, Barra, do you give any credence to the build-up? Like, if you've had such a shaky summer like the Dogs have had, surely it affects their psyche.
I just think beware the wounded Bulldogs. So I can't bring myself to tip the Kangas. You might be right, mate. We might look like gooses.
No, I just think it galvanises this group. I think they'll come out firing.
Okay.
And the Kangaroos, there's that game they played down in Bunbury, they played boring football. They didn't give their forward line a chance. They could have massacred West Coast, and they didn't.
So, can I remind you, GWS looked really poor during the pre-season. Collingwood looked red hot. And what happened in the opening round?
Yeah,
So
and I
the
understand
pre-season
that.
form is a fickle beast, my friend.
But I just thought they looked so boring. They just held the ball so long.
Okay.
If your grandmother had, you know what, she'd be your granddad.
Okay, well, we'll be talking about this on Tuesday. You will say you are a genius.
That was a
obviously
disturbing
you're picking
thought,
the
Barra.
Dogs as well. Adelaide Oval, Sunday, 9:35 a.m. Adelaide, talking about long injury lists, Adelaide $1.34, St Kilda $3.25, Butler out, Dow out, Henry out, Howard out, Max King out, Mitch Owens out, Philippou out, Sharman out. Adelaide have to win this. Matthew Nicks, he is under enormous pressure already. They have to start the season with a win here. A lot of people are tipping them to make the 8, not me, but they're building the foundations, and I think they'll never be more vulnerable, St Kilda, than in this opening game.
Big excitement for me around Sid Draper. I watched a bit of him in the SANFL.
Yeah.
I couldn't help myself last year. A couple of times he got linked to West Coast, and I had to have a little look, and my Lord. You will talk about draftees. This kid's going to be incredible if his trajectory keeps going the way it is.
So he's on my watch list with, I think, McElhenney who's recovered from a thumb, and Daniel Curtin. So the West
Looking
Claremont
forward to
kid.
seeing Curtin play a bit of forward by the looks of it.
Yes.
Just quietly, how's this? We can roll out of bed.
Mid forward, actually. Bit of mid forward.
Yeah, we can roll out of bed with the old scrambled eggs and watch this game at 9:30 in the morning. It's quite early, but
Mate.
looking forward to this game from McRae's perspective, just for those reasons I just mentioned, and obviously the injury list, and I've got no faith in
Well, I'll be
St
watching.
Kilda.
I have to pick my team of the week.
So Adelaide win
Mate,
for me.
Adelaide have belted them the last 2 times, I think.
Adelaide win.
And so unless Roscoe pulls Nix's pants down, absolutely, you can't see St Kilda winning. So I'm interested in Dan Curtin. He'll be in there, won't he?
Yeah, Dan Curtin, I think he'll play forward mid. I think he's a big body midfielder. I think they tried him a few spots too many last year. They just needed to settle him into a spot and just see how he goes. He's a gun, and I wrote a story about his brother Cody Curtin at the weekend too, by the way.
that.
200 centimetres and
burning that
100
up?
kilo.
You think he's that good, do you?
I think by the end of the year, if he goes the way I'm predicting, he could be in line for the first draft pick. He could be number one
pick.
He has the potential to be the number 1 pick. He is a ready-made full forward already.
So who are you picking?
Adelaide.
Okay. Sunday, 12:20, MCG, Melbourne $2.02, Giants $1.80. Boys, they were incredible, GWS, at NG Stadium last Sunday. Finn Callaghan, as I said, Will Day was enormous for Hawthorn. I thought Finn Callaghan was better.
You want to talk about someone looked like
He
Chris
was
Judd?
so good last week.
Finn Callaghan looked like Chris
He was a
Judd.
beast.
He was good. My mate manages him, and he is giggling. And what deal did he didn't go for the 17 mil, did he?
At St
He
Kilda.
turned up at 17
Also
Say
Kilda, they
world.
can't do it, can they?
Boys, were you okay or not?
He's worth 20
I
mil.
sort of wasn't with the orange tsunami warning last week. I thought it was in poor taste. I know normally marketing, okay, we all like that sort of.
Yeah, not with the.
That's okay.
not
I
with
just
the
thought,
cyclone
under
and-
the circumstance of last weekend, come on, show a bit of nous.
Because of what? The cyclone?
yeah,
Yeah, the orange tsunami. It's a bit on the
copped a
nose.
bit of flack
There
over
was
the
no
week.
tsunami, though, was there?
No, but it's on the nose. It's the weather.
It's a natural
sort of thing.
disaster, Barry.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, look, I'm actually tipping Melbourne for this one, guys. I think Clayton Oliver and Petrarca are going to come out absolutely firing. Jacob Van Rooyen had that back injury against Fremantle early in the game down in Mandurah, limped off, played literally 30 seconds, I think it was. He'll play by the sounds of it. Bailey Fritsch. I just think they're the better side.
So,
on
for
paper
me,
at the moment.
I
and
agree with you, Mitch.
and I think GWS's forward line at the MCG is just too bare without a few guys.
It's
in
a
terms of
different shaped
Hogan.
ground.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's a bigger ground than NG. So Hogan and that, for me, are big outs this week more than they were against Collingwood last week, who don't have a great defence, whereas Melbourne do.
This game for me is going to be won and lost in the ruck. So Briggs going down. They did really well with Keefe. He was beaten by Darcy Cameron, but early in the game. So I think Keefe. Interesting to see what they do against Max Gawn. But for me, this is where this game's won or lost. And I think you're right. Oliver back in.
Hang on, have you blokes? Did you
Fitness
guys actually watch the
and
Giants?
Petrarca.
Yeah.
Sorry, I did.
Mate, did you see how good?
I
Mate,
did.
they're bloody premiership favourites now.
Yeah, and I think they'll win the flag. I said it at the start of the year.
Alongside
but-
your blokes. But hang on, the premiership.
Giants are way ahead of
So
us.
the premiership favourites are going to lose at the G to Melbourne. That's
Yep.
what you two were
Yes.
saying.
Yep.
Oh,
Clayton
my God.
Oliver, Christian Petrarca to dominate.
Unbelievable.
So who are you on?
Mate, I'm with the Giants. I was watching that game. They're unbelievable. They are unbelievable.
By the way,
They're odds on.
Toby Green, very lucky to be playing this week. I thought that was a pretty poor,
You keep your knee down.
very, very poor
Keep
effort.
your knee down.
It was Toby tax in reverse. Big one on Sunday, Optus Stadium. 3:10 p.m. bounce down. We're all excited about this. A bit of footy to watch live here in WA. West Coast, $2.50. Gold Coast Suns, $1.53. We've already gone through the Eagles situation. Injuries to the Suns. Mac Andrew is out, I believe, still
Yep.
for a week. Flanders. Leo Lombard, disappointingly out for a bit of a stint. I think I picked him to win the Rising Star. He's not going to win it. He's just going to miss too much footy, but disappointing. Swallows out. But it gives the opportunity. Charlie Ballard, who's available after an ankle injury, and Lockie Weller off a hamstring, so he could come back into that side. I'm tipping the Suns here. Had a good win here last year. I've picked them to make the 8, and I think they make a statement round 1. I think it'll be reasonably close at three-quarter time, and then the Suns will get a little bit of distance there. I just think West Coast is not quite ready. I believe that this Suns squad is ready to challenge for the 8, if not make it.
Yeah, a couple of key matchups for me. I think Jack Graham's got to go to Matt Rowell. Matt Rowell had 30 and 12 clearances last time he was here, and that 10-point loss to West Coast under Schofield when they had those kids. I think Matt Rowell's a real danger, especially out of contract and trying to, get that big money deal. So if I'm not saying a tag, but I'm saying that defensive midfielder role, Jack Graham's got to go there. Then you got King up forward. Harry Edwards has got his hands full there. He's going to have to have a massive year in my books. So I think King against Harry Edwards is a huge matchup. Jake Waterman, if he plays, will be massive for them against a Ballard. That's vital. And I think Flynn rucks against Wits after what we said earlier with Bailey Williams struggling. So I think it's really going to be an interesting game of cat and mouse. Obviously, Master versus Apprentice. Channel 7 and the West, including myself and Ryan Daniels, although I didn't get as much TV time as Rhino, had a bit of a chat about...
See, that made that other show as
a little drive-by for Rhino. Love you, Rhino. No, obviously...
Hey, good luck to Rhino and the 17, by the way, while we're on it, for calling the game on Sunday.
I can't wait for this. It's going to be
And
amazing.
Cuzzy. He's entering the football commentary arena.
So what's his role on Sunday?
It's more or less special comments,
Okay.
easing into special comments with Mark Lecras, and Daisy Pearce is going to be working with him as well. So yeah, it's going to be fantastic. I like what you're saying. Well, at training today, I felt like the Eagles were going to win. I was starting to change my tip because I had the Suns because I thought a few injuries and a new game plan. And Gov, how good Gov look?
You got those rose-coloured glasses
I
on,
know.
don't you? At
Did
the
you get
moment,
them? Did you get them as well?
love it.
So,
Don't
so who are you
get 'em?
picking? West Coast?
Well, you know what? I'm going to tip them. I'm going to keep the faith, brother.
I'm going the Suns. I think the Suns have got so much more riding on this game.
Quarters,
So-
I've got a great question for you.
Yes.
If you get this,
Yes.
you are actually a genius.
Okay.
Don't you? Because I reckon Mitch might know this because he actually not that he's smarter than you. It's just that the amount of work, that research he does. I'll give you $20 if you can name.
Geez, you're generous. $20. Wow.
Well, it's been a tough week,
Yeah,
mate.
okay.
Got kids,
Brandon
you know.
Parfitt's got the rest of his money.
It's my daughter's 21st today, so
Oh,
I've
happy
had to spend
birthday,
a fortune on that.
21st.
Yeah, thank you
Give
very
her a
much.
shout out.
If you can who finished 1 and 2 in the Suns' best and fairest last year?
Oh, jeez.
Oh, you don't know either. Okay, both.
Oh,
have-
no, I do know one. I
All
know
right,
one.
Have a crack.
I know one.
How much
One
footy
was-
did Witts miss?
One was Sam Collins.
Yeah, that'd be right. Yes, he was too.
So he won the
was.
medal.
Yes.
The bloke from the Dockers. Jeez, we'll let some blokes go. If you get the second bloke, I'll walk east.
Mac Andrew.
No.
No, not Mac.
You'll
Andrew.
walk
He was
east.
top 5.
Ah.
You'll never get it. Josh, you want to have a crack? He'll never get it.
Our
No one will
producer,
get it.
Josh Cable.
No one
No,
in this building would get
Charlie
it.
Ballard?
Ryan Daniels wouldn't get it. Not Charlie Ballard.
Okay, who is it?
Would you have gone? You would have probably thought Rowell at least or something like that. Would
He
you?
missed a bit of footy,
Anderson
didn't
or
he?
something?
Anderson, Bodie Uland.
Oh, Bodie Hewland, yeah. His brother Zeke's meant to be contender for the number 1 draft pick
he
as
was
well.
the runner-up.
Hey, boys, before we get to my favourite segment of the week, you know it is. I've been handed a late bit of mail. This is amazing. This is from our great stats man, Chris Robinson, on the West Sport desk.
Oh, he came up with a brilliant stat.
Here it
I
is.
almost used it today. Is that the one about the coaches?
No, this is 1999. Freo's top draft pick, Justin Longmuir, makes his AFL debut against the Cats in Geelong. Age, 18 years and 7 months. 2025, Freo's top draft pick, Murphy Reid, makes his AFL debut against the Cats in Geelong. Age, 18 years and 7 months. Game handed to him by Justin Longmuir. Great stat, Chris.
That's good. Mate, one that got me, and I used it last night like it was actually my own, but it wasn't, because it turned out it was his, was he said that all 6 Eagles coaches have coached a win in their first game.
Yes, I knew that stat.
And it was his, wasn't it? It was his stat.
Yeah,
he
it
put
was,
it in the paper.
actually, yeah.
Yeah. And so today, when we were talking to Minnie, I was
No
that,
pressure, Minnie, by the way.
I was that
No
close.
pressure at all.
I was that close.
Every coach has done it before
Woosh
you.
was sitting next to me.
Yeah.
So I was that close to going, mate, Woosh did it. First game, can you do it? Can you join? Can you be the 7th? But I couldn't think of a way to say it. How would you have said
Just
it?
quickly,
Like humorous.
has anybody ever had a bigger posse when they walk into a room than McQualter? Yeah, Gavin Bell walk in, Worsfold, the media team. He had about 7 people walk in, and then he walked in.
You coach, mate.
It's
Shows a
intimidating.
bit
Big club.
unity.
Big
It's
club, mate.
intimidating. It's like-
Boys,
Can he do it?
my favourite time of the week, the Thirsty Camel mailbag. This week we'll be giving away a $50 digital voucher. Thank you to Thirsty Camel, our long-time sponsor and friends. This week's special, Jack Daniel's Double Jack and Cola. 6.9% cans, only $67.99 for a 10-pack. Get your questions in for next week to TheWestSport at wanews.com.au. Please include your mobile number at the bottom of your email, as we'll send you a digital voucher if you're a weekly winner. This one from Andrew. Hawthorn, North Melbourne and Western Bulldogs are celebrating their 100-year existence this season. That's their 100 years in the VFL-AFL, by the way. A once-in-a-century opportunity to push their bequest fund requests onto their supporters. What do the clubs do with the money donated? It's a funny one. That once, I think a few years ago, I did get an email from Hawthorn, where I'm a member, saying, there's an opportunity you can bequest. There was no follow-up or anything, but it was just interesting. And it does happen at clubs. People do it. I'm bequesting my assets to my children. But anyway, it's interesting, isn't it? I don't know. The money, I guess, just goes back to the club. It's, I guess when you buy a membership at a club, it's like an investment back to the club. So, interesting.
Yeah, I've never really thought about it, to be honest.
It does happen.
It's like, but it's also one of those questions, isn't it? It's like, where do the fines money go when you get fined at the tribunal? It's those sort of questions that you do ask yourself sometimes, but you never really ask anybody else.
Well, it's interesting when you look at it, and I'm certainly in this boat. People, as they get on in vintage, their relationships with their clubs are the longest relationships they've often had in their lives. And so it's an interesting one.
Yeah. Hey, they've been replaying your brother, Stephen Bluin with Dunstall.
Oh, all those years with the chicken rice or whatever it was.
Fried rice.
That was, have you seen that?
Yeah, I've heard it.
Mate, that is
classic.
Why are they replaying that now?
I don't know. It's been getting a lot of airplay.
Maybe because he's going back onto SEN radio.
Mate,
or
it's
whatever.
spectacular.
Anyway.
You've got to do that on this show. Hey, there's breaking news from
Yes.
the West Australian.
Okay.
The North versus Eagles game sold out.
Oh, the Bunbury game, 13,000 people. Fantastic. Can't wait to
Sold
get
out
back
in
to
20
hands-on.
minutes.
Yep. Does not shock me. Does not shock me. Hands oval, football, Bunbury, it's culture down there.
Well done.
It's love.
Exciting times for the city of Bunbury. Well done. This one from Who's the Boss? What is the rationale behind Ross Lyon this week being given a contract extension until the end of 2027? Clearly a great coach, but he's still unproven in being able to lift up a developing list. Why wouldn't you wait until this summer when he's still got a year to run on his contract to make the call? So he extended by a year to the end of, takes him to the end of 2027 this week, as did Brad Scott at Essendon by a year. I'll tell you why. The Essendon, they rolled out it's unity. We believe in where he's going with the list, etc., etc. And that's fair enough. I'll tell you where it is with Ross. He runs the club.
Well, and also don't forget these contracts, though. A lot of them, I don't know, we've spoken about Justin Longmuir's a few times. These contracts have these exit clauses where you only got to pay 6 months out.
Yeah.
So these extensions are all well and good until you want to get rid of someone. So don't think that they're just locked and loaded. The Brad Scott one is a show of faith in the direction. They need it. I would love to see them do it without Amuse at Richmond because, to be honest with you right now, he's handed just a diabolical hand as a coach. He's got to rebuild that list, and I hope he's there at the end of it. And Ross Lyon, probably in a similar situation. He's rebuilding a list and they're trying to keep stability. These two clubs are clubs too. They're not like West Coast or Freo, who have had one coach for a long time. These clubs have gone through a lot of coaches.
Kevin Sheedy?
Well, outside of that, since Kevin Sheedy, though.
Kevin
we've
Sheedy
seen
coached
a lot.
for 50 years.
Yeah, but since then, it's been, a revolving door.
Yeah.
That's
true.
This is a show of stability for these two clubs, which they need. You cannot keep changing coaches.
But good question by that fella, and if it was a fella. But as Mitchie's saying, the contracts aren't worth, it's just 6 months. So really, I don't know why the Dockers went through all that rigmarole. He actually gets 12 months, JL.
Yeah, good.
If he gets necked. So
we're going to need that on a piece of paper.
Jermaine sends a lot of noise on opening round. Must admit, as a WA follower, I enjoy seeing all the Victorians or Prictorians. That's that's not.
Are you
helpful.
still a Prictorian?
I'm a Victorian.
Yeah, you are a Prictorian.
Oh, yeah, I'm a Victorian. I'm just been parked permanently in the West for a while.
A
lot of Victorians.
Some would say you're a big.
Hold on, you're from
about missing
Canberra.
out. Finally get a taste of what we experience every year on how we are treated. So that's Jermaine saying, welcome to the club, Victoria. Are the AFL out of touch with the common fan? Mate, they're going to roll out opening round again next year. It's a shame because they could do it.
You know
what?
It's a shame because it was a public holiday. That was the weird bit.
Yeah,
they could have played a
By the
Sunday
way,
night game.
Big weekend in Melbourne this weekend with the Grand Prix too. Good luck to Oscar.
But you know what the premise is so everyone moves out of Victoria and goes up north to sort of Sydney and Brisbane. That's why they do it, obviously, for tourism.
So I'm going to give our voucher this week to some mail from Tuesday, which was John from Hammond Park. It was a very clever email about how they could the AFL could make opening round more successful for the northern markets. It's limit the teams to 13 each, have them throw the ball backwards and return possession on every 6 tackles. So, John, well done. You've done this week's winner.
Very good.
Thanks for listening. We are brought to you by TABtouch. Got the touch? Download the TABtouch app today. What's gambling really costing you? Remember, you can watch or listen to this podcast on YouTube Music. Leave us a rating and a review, and don't forget to follow this podcast so you don't miss an episode. Mitch, Barra, thanks for your time. Good luck with your tipping this week. We will talk to you next week after we have a proper round of AFL.